Welcome dear students, I am Dr. Kaleem Ahmed, Assistant Professor, Department of Wildlife Sciences, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Now in today's lecture, we will discuss the importance of RS and GIS in biodiversity conservation. The lecture will focus on how these two powerful technologies are used in monitoring and managing biodiversity, supporting conservation efforts worldwide. Since special technologies are integral to identify threats to ecosystem, so mapping species distribution and aiding in biodiversity conservation strategies. Let's discuss something about the introduction of RS and GIS in conservation. Remote sensing actually involves gathering data about earth surveys without direct contact. This is done through satellite or aerial photography, capturing detailed data on vegetation, land cover and environmental change. On the other hand, geographic information systems capture, store, analyze and manage spatial or geographic data, enabling us to create detailed maps and analyze patterns in environmental data. We can say combining these two technologies provides a powerful toolset for monitoring biodiversity and assessing ecosystem health that's supporting evidence-based conservation strategies. Let's discuss some of the applications of these includes identifying change in land use and habitat loss over times. We can also map species distribution and habitat suitability to prioritize conservation efforts, and we can also evaluate and plan different conservation strategies according to demand. As remote sensing allows the collection of spatial data over vast areas, even in remote or difficult to assess regions, this makes RS a valuable tool in biodiversity conservation. The two main types of RS data are satellite imagery and drone imagery or aerial photography. In satellite imagery, we can say is a useful for large scale monitoring of change such as deforestation, urbanization and land cover change. On the other hand, satellites actually continuously capture data, allowing for long term monitorings of the ecosystems, and aerial photography, or we can say the second one, the aerial photography or the drone imagery provides high resolution localized image for specific areas, making it useful for assessing habitat health as well as change on the smaller scales. We can say these technologies enable frequent monitoring of the ecosystems, allowing conservationists to detect change and threats to biodiversity, thus enabling timely conservation interventions. GIS excels as integrated data from various sources such as RS, topography and species occurrence records. This integration actually helps build a comprehensive understanding of the biodiversity. GIS allows researchers to identify patterns, trends and relationships such as how habitat fragmentation might affect species distribution or migrations. For example, combining land cover data, for example deforestation areas from RS with species data from field survey, one can or we can say it helps identify areas where species are at risk and we can prioritize the conservation effort for that particular species. It is therefore highly enables spatial analysis that actually helps researchers make some kind of informed decisions to protect biodiversity by analyzing environmental factors impacting species. Another visualization and mapping in GIS is also another important application of these maps. We can say are powerful communication tools nowadays that make complex data easier to understand, especially for stakeholders like policymakers or the public. GIS can turn raw data into visually engaging informative maps showing, we can say, deforestation rates, species distribution, even biodiversity hotspots or the wildlife corridors. Map actually allows decision makers to visualize change in biodiversity, making it easier to prioritize areas for conservation or restoration. For example, map showing deforestation in the Amazon help policymakers understand where urgent action is needed to protect the critical habitats of that particular areas. So this is the, we can say, the map actually showing the deforestation hotspots in the Amazons. This is the, we can say, strength of these RS and GIS applications of visualizing data, that we can categorize the maps based on the deforestation rates, high and medium size. Another application of we can say RS and GIS is monitoring habitat change. Habitat loss, we can say, and fragmentations are among the biggest threat to biodiversity, and remote sensings provide a way to monitor these changes in real time. RS can detect large scale change such as deforestation, desertification, urbanization, and natural disasters, which can all negatively impact, we can say, biodiversity, species and the ecosystems. For instance, satellite imagery can track the rapid loss of the rainforest in tropical regions, which are home a large number of the endangered species. We can say this data can be used to monitor forest recovery efforts, evaluate the effectiveness of the conservation policies and direct, we can say, reforestation efforts. RS thus, we can say, provides objective data that enables conservationists to quickly assess human impacts on habitats, allowing for timely interventions to mitigate these efforts or these effects. This video shows actually the gradual loss of the rainforest covered through satellite obtained from the information. You can see it from 2001 to 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and up to 2018. So this is, we can say, the strength of these satellite imagery, that based on that we can actually prioritize the things. We can see the how the gradually the forest has been reduced over the years. So this we can say shows the strength of these satellite imagery, by which we can visualize the things and we can see the how the changes are happening over the years. Species, another application of this RS and GIS is species distribution modeling, actually that predicts where species are likely to occur based on environmental data such as temperature, precipitations, habitat characteristics. GIS actually integrates these environmental variables with actual species location data to create some kind of predictive models of the species distribution under various conditions, including future climate change scenarios. These we can say species distribution models help conservationists to identify potential habitats, especially for endangered or threatened species, and we can plan habitat restoration or reintroduction projects for these species under threat. For example, we can say by modeling the habitat requirement of the species like the snow leopard or other species of the concerns, conservationists can predict where suitable habitat exists even in remote or unmonitored areas, and we can prioritize those areas for the protection of that particular species. Another application of these RS and GIS is to identify we can say biodiversity hotspots. As we know, biodiversity hotspots are regions that are rich in species diversity but are under significant threats from human activities like deforestation or urbanizations, and these RS and GIS are used to identify and map these critical areas, allowing conservationists to focus their efforts where they are needed most. Since biodiversity hotspots often contains species that are found nowhere else, making them priorities for the conservations. For example, we can say the Western Ghats in India or the Amazon basins are identified as the biodiversity hotspots due to their high level of the species endemisms. So we can say by mapping these regions, conservationists can allocate resources to the areas most in need for the protection. Another is application of this is protected area management with RS and GIS. We can say RS and GIS also play a quite crucial role in managing protected areas like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves. RS can provide, we can say, real-time data on land cover change such as illegal logging, encroachments or habitat destructions in around the protected areas. This, we can say, allows policymakers to act quickly and efficiently. On the other hand, GIS helps monitor the effectiveness of the conservation measures by tracking change in species populations, land cover or human activity over time. For example, satellite imagery can reveal encroachments or illegal activities within protected areas, promoting faster response from park authorities to protect biodiversity. Thus, using these technologies makes managing protected areas more effective by offering real-time monitoring and data-driven decision for biodiversity conservation. Another application is habitat modeling. That actually habitat modeling actually combines environmental data collected through RS and species data analyzed in GIS to predict the future distribution of the species under various scenarios such as climate change, habitat loss or human development. The factor considered in habitat modeling includes climate variables, topography, vegetation, human disturbance. For example, conservationists might use the habitat modeling to predict how endangered species habitat will shift in response to climate change, thus helping in prioritizing areas for conservation or restoration efforts. Habitat models, thus we can say, help conservationists plan ahead by predicting the effects of the environmental change on species and their habitats. And another application is monitoring climate change impacts with RIS. RIS is, we can say, also instrumental in monitoring the impacts of the climate change on ecosystems. Since we know the climate change affects species, habitat, migration patterns of the different species, and even the ecosystem services that we actually get from the biodiversity. So, RS data can detect change such as glacial retreat, rising sea level and vegetation shifts, which are all indicators of the actually climate change. For example, we can say satellite imagery can monitor coral bleachings, events caused by the rising sea temperatures, thus enabling conservationists to track the health of the coral reefs and plan appropriate interventions. RS hence helps conservationists assess the effect of the climate change on biodiversity and ecosystems, supporting the development of the mitigation strategies. This is coral bleaching in New Caledonia, part of the Pacific Ocean, is a significant environmental concerns actually affecting one of the most important reef system in the world. You can see in these slides that based on this particular data we can actually visualize the things that which area is more severely affected, which is moderately affected and which is low affected. So this is the beauty of the, we can say, RS and GIS, that we can visualize the things in a very easy way and prioritize the things based on the maps or based on the data collected with these RS and GIS technologies. So this New Caledonia is a home to the New Caledonian Barrier Reefs, the second largest double barrier reef after the Great Barrier Reefs. So this reef is a part of, we can say, also a part of UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and its biodiversity is very crucial for marine ecosystems. Another applications, we can say, RS and GIS is land use and land cover change analysis. RS actually provides constant data on land use change such as agriculture expansion, urban sprawl and infrastructure development, which directly affects ecosystem and biodiversity. Whereas GIS analyze these changes to understand their impacts on the ecosystems, species and habitat connectivity. For example, we can say RS and GIS can assess how agriculture expansion is fragmenting native grasslands, leading to the loss of the critical habitat for species depending on grassland habitats. Thus, we can say land use planning is of great importance in biodiversity conservation for ensuring that development is sustainable and minimize harm to ecosystems. Another application is wildlife corridor mapping with RS and GIS. Wildlife corridors, we can say, these are the areas that actually connect the fragmented habitats, allowing animals to move safely between them. This connectivity, we can say, is crucial for species survival as it promotes genetic diversity and reduces the risk of inbreeding. RS and GIS actually helps conservationists identify and map these corridors, ensuring that animals have access to essential resources such as food, water and mating opportunities. For example, we can say in Africa or in India also, elephant migration routes are mapped to maintain habitat connectivity and reduce conflicts between elephants and the farmers and with different villagers. Even we can say under Project Tigers, different corridors have also been identified. So the tigers and the other carnivore species, even the prey and small mesocarnivores also move freely from one area to another areas. So these all can be done through these, we can say, RS and GIS techniques. So maintenance of wildlife corridor is thereby extremely crucial to ensure that the species can migrate, adapt and survive in the face of habitat fragmentation and climate change. Another we can say applications integrating socioeconomic data in GIS. GIS can integrate, we can say, environmental data from RS with socioeconomic data such as population density, land ownership even, and infrastructure to better understand how human activities actually affect the biodiversity. This integrated approach helps conservationists balance development needs with biodiversity conservation. For example, in areas where deforestation is driven by the agricultural expansion, GIS can identify the communities involved and develop expansion. GIS can help identify the communities involved and develop sustainable land use policies that reduce the impact on biodiversity while supporting local livelihood. RS is invaluable for monitoring, we can say, disasters such as wildfires, floods, hurricanes and earthquakes, all of which can destroy ecosystems as well as the biodiversity. Just to supports disasters response and recover by identifying the areas most affected, prioritizing, we can say, help us to prioritize the regions for restorations efforts and mapping habitat recovery over time. For example, we can say the mapping the spread of the wildfires in Africa, allowing authorities to target firefighting efforts and plan post-fire restoration initiatives effectively. The role of RS and GIS in disaster preparedness as well as monitoring and recovery efforts is hence of great value and significant in conservation efforts or biodiversity conservation. Another application is we can also use this RS and GIS in assessing the ecosystem services. Ecosystem services are actually the benefits that ecosystem provides to the humans, such as carbon sequestrations, water purifications, soil conservations, and number of the services that we can actually get from the biodiversity. So RS and GIS are used to assess these services by mapping carbon rich areas, identifying water catchment zones or assessing soil erosion risks. For example, by mapping carbon dense forests to identify areas for protection or reforestations helps mitigate climate change by storing large amounts of the carbon. So we can say understanding ecosystem services is also crucial for ensuring that these benefits are maintained for both biodiversity as well as for human well-being. Another we can say application is citizen science integration. GIS platforms also incorporate data collected by public, such as bird sightings via the apps like eBird or the iNaturalist supplement scientific research. This citizen science approach increase data collection especially in areas where scientific monitoring is limited or expensive. For example, data from the bird watchers across the world is used to monitor trends in the bird populations. Thus, we can help us to identifying which species may be declining and where the conservation efforts are actually needed. So, this is another we can say application of this, that how we can use the citizen science data in biodiversity conservation. This marks the role of the we can say public engagement in conservation efforts and help a bridge data gaps. We can say as sourceful and informative this RS and GIS, there are some also challenges too associated with the using RS and GIS for biodiversity conservations, and some of these are data limitations. We can say sometimes cloud cover, and atmospheric conditions can reduce the quality of the satellite data, while high resolution imagery may be unavailable in some regions. And in some time technical expertise, we can say processing and analyzing RS and GIS data requires specialized skills which may not be accessible to all conservation organizations. Another is cost. Cost, we can say high resolution satellite data and advanced even GIS softwares can be expensive, that actually limit their use by smaller organization or low income regions. Another is data integrations. Combining, we can say, data sets from different sources can be difficult due to differences in formats, resolutions and in different scales. So these are some of the limitations also of using RS and GIS technologies in biodiversity conservation. We can say what are the future direction for RS and GIS. We can say there are emerging advancement as we discussed in these few slides in RS and GIS technologies that will shape the future of the biodiversity conservation, such as improved sensors. We can say the development of the hyperspectral sensors will provide even more detailed environmental data that actually improving species distribution models and also habitat assessments. Another we can say is nowadays artificial intelligence and the machine learning. These technologies actually automate data processing, allowing for faster and more accurate analysis of the large scale of the data sets. Another we can say open data initiatives. More organizations are actually making satellites data freely available, thus enabling broader access to the high quality environmental data to the public and those organizations which are in need of these data. Another future opportunities, such as we can say integration of the RS and GIS with the ground based sensor will allow for real time monitoring of the ecosystems. For example, we can say drone equipped with advanced sensors can provide localized real time data on biodiversity. So these are some of, we can say, future direction in which the RS and GIS is going on. And this is the, we can say, conclusion what we have actually discussed in today's lectures. We can say the RS and GIS are crucial tools for biodiversity conservation, providing timely and comprehensive data on environmental change as well as on the species distributions. We can say these technologies also enables informed decisions making by allowing conservationists to analyze complex data and develop targeted conservation strategies. And we also discussed the integration of the various data sources through GIS fosters collaborations among scientists, policymakers and local communities. Thus, we can say there is a crucial need to invest in these technologies, promote trainings and capacity buildings and foster global partnerships to effectively conserve biodiversity and address the growing environmental challenges. With this, dear students, we end today's lecture, and in the next lecture we will continue to discuss some other important topics. Thank you.